Hello everybody and welcome back to the channel. My name's Rob and today we're going to be modeling and animating the Minecraft Parrot, just for fun. So the meme's been floating around and I thought it'd be pretty interesting to give it a try to see what it would take to recreate that in Solidworks. This video will be split into two parts. So the first is going to be modeling of the parrot itself and the second will be the actual animation. So if you're not interested in the actual modeling aspect, feel free to skip to the second part. And you may think, well, there's nothing interesting about a bunch of blocks, but I'll make sure I'll throw in a bunch of tips to make it worth your while. So hopefully you'll stay along. So before we jump into it, let's lay down the plan. I'm going to create the entire parrot in one part file as a multi-body part. And from there, I'll split it into an assembly where we can organize it, and then we will use the mate controller functionality to actually animate it. That being said, that means that this method can be used in any SolidWorks version greater than 2016, because that's when mate controller first appeared. So with that out of the way, let's just get started here. I'm gonna go ahead and open up a new part file and, just a regular part. You can use any units you want. I'm just going to be using inches, and you could just either translate the units or you can actually perform the conversion, but this is all relative, and if you need it to be a specific size, you can use the scale tool at the very end to change the size of all the solid bodies. But for right now, I'll start a sketch on the top plane here, and we're going to make the main body first, and I'll accomplish that by using a center rectangle here. Alright, and if you're in the newer version of SolidWorks, if I have a center rectangle, you can actually choose to have that from corners or from midpoints. I like from midpoints, and the reason is that I can actually box these two legs here very easily and say make equal to make that into a square. Because with a corner rectangle, there would be another center line that would be kind of in the way. But that makes it really easy to use that. But I'll make this 3 inches, and that should be fully defined at this point, so go ahead and exit our sketch. We have our boss extrude, and that will be 6 inches tall if I'm not mistaken, and it would seem that that is the case. Alright, so there's our body, so nothing too bad. I'm going to go ahead and move on to the wing now, and for that, I'll go ahead and sketch on one of the side faces here. So anything that I have to mirror over, I'm just going to keep to the right hand side, and then I'll do all of that stuff in one mirror feature. So here I am, and I'll do Control+8 to view normal 2, just like that. And I'll do a regular corner rectangle because it's going to be a little bit offset. The height will be 5. And width is 3. And whoops, I missed there. So I'll just hit cancel and we'll try that. There we go. From there to there is 1/2 inch, and then from here to here is 0.25 of an inch. Alright, so it's fully defined. Yet another boss extrude. And instead of 6 inches out, should be just 1. Let's see. Yep, that is correct. And I'll do that mid-plane. So it's going to be kind of sticking into the body a little bit. So here's the thing. I need to have these two items be separate bodies in order for the maximum flexibility to animate. So I need to uncheck merge result. And if I hit OK, you'll see that my solid bodies folder now says 2. But here's the thing. Every new feature that I'll add, that merge result box will be checked on. So I'm going to have to keep ticking it off every single time, which is kind of annoying. So to get around that, here's a tip for you. Yeah, if you need to make a whole bunch of different solid bodies, what you can do is go to your weldments and just specify this as a weldments part file. So what you'll see here is that we have a weldments line item here. It went above the features. It doesn't create any geometry, but rather it just kind of sets a bunch of settings in SolidWorks to make it easier to work with weldments. So one of those being, it'll keep merge result checked off. Even though we're not going to weld this bird together. Hopefully not. That'd be kind of mean, right? And again, it's going to be tempting to move on to the other wing, but instead I'm just going to move on to the tail. So I'm going to sketch on this back face here, Control 8 to bring it into focus. So this is going to be like another center-ish rectangle, and I mean center-ish because it's not going to be a center about any geometry here. But instead, I'll just get myself a regular corner rectangle, and I'll get one of the legs up here, and I'll say select midpoint. So just right click, select midpoint, and the origin, and say make vertical. And that will constrain this to be centered about the vertical axis, and that'll be totally fine. Now for some dimensions, we have 4 inches there, and then 3 here. And then all that should be left is a offset. I'll say 2.5. There we go. And now when I go to Features Boss Extrude, yeah, notice that merge result is now off because it assumes it's a weldments part, and it'll apply all the appropriate settings. I guess at this point we can move on to the head, so I'll just sketch up here. Control 8 will bring me right there. And again, another center-ish rectangle, so I'm just going to do the same technique where I'll select the midpoint and the origin, and I'll make them vertical. And yeah, before I add any dimensions, I'll just box select from right to left these 2 lower legs and say make equal. Makes it a square. Say that is 2 inches. And the distance from here to here will be 1/4. Alright, and at this point I can go ahead and extrude that. And this is overall going to be 3 inches tall. But instead of starting right from the end here, I'm going to specify an offset. And what that's going to do, it's going to change where the extrusion starts from. And I want it to intersect a little bit. And again, I got these dimensions from the actual Minecraft model, so I'm just trying to keep it as true to that as possible for whatever reason. And there we have the startings of a head. Alright, and next I will go for the top of the head. And for this one, I'm just gonna sketch right on the top. I'll just drag a rectangle. I started one corner there. And then I can say that that edge and this can be collinear. Now we have something like this where we need only one more dimension to fully define. And that dimension is 4. Exit my sketch and go to my extrude. That is far too tall, so I will turn that down to 1 and hit OK or enter, whatever you'd like. Alright, at this point we're going to go for the beak. And for that, I'll just start on this face here. I'll start a sketch. I'll focus it there. Again, a center-ish rectangle. And, you know, you don't have to right-click. You can actually hover and hit the midpoint there. But that midpoint can be kind of squirrely and hard to grab at times. So, you know, right-clicking guarantees that you get it. But anyways, the width of that will be 1. And the length of that will be 2. Alright, and getting my boss extrude, this will be 1 inch. There we go. We got that. And what I'll go ahead and do, start another sketch because the beak needs to be a little larger. So I'll do another rectangle like that. I can snap that corner there. Say that is 2. And the offset of this will be 0.5. Alright, so far so good. And that's pretty good. I'll just hit OK. Alright, so this face is acting a little bit weird, and that's because it's in the exact same location as another face. They're kind of intersecting a little bit. I'll fix that in a little bit, but for right now, we'll leave it as is. As of right now, we're going to go ahead and move on to the hairdo. And for that, I'll sketch on the right plane, so I'll click here and say sketch. Oh, did I say top plane? That was a mistake. Right plane, sketch. There we go. That's the one. I want to be looking at the profile of our majestic bird here. And for this one, I could use a whole bunch of features to take care of this, but I feel like that's going to be a little bit confusing. I want to keep the hair as one feature. And so I'm going to use a multi-contour sketch. And typically it could be bad practice in some cases. It could confuse a lot of people, but as long as you know what you're doing, it should be fine. So I'll start with a square here. So I just kind of clicked and dragged from a random point and box these two and say make equal, because that's got to be a square. It's going to be 2 inches. Yeah, let me put this into place, and then I'll start drawing some other stuff. So that will be 0.5. And then this, from here to here, will be 1.125. Okay, so far so good. So I'm going to go ahead and draw the other contours now. So I'm going to start with a small square over here, and squares in air quotes because there's nothing saying that they should be equal yet, but I'm going to keep on going here. Draw a rectangle from right there. Draw another thing like that, and then another thing like that. So if you use the sketch in the wrong feature, it might say something like endpoints wrongly shared, can't use a sketch, or something to that effect. And the endpoints wrongly shared refer to these endpoints where they branch out in more than 2 directions pretty much. It can confuse Solidworks at times, but we're going to get around this by using a setting in the boss extrude when we get there. But before, I need to make this fully defined. And I'll do that by just setting a whole bunch of equals. So I'll say that these are all equal to each other. So I just selected these three legs here. And then I can say that all these should be equal. And alright, so we're still missing that. So perhaps I can say make these equal. And that should be fully defined. So there you go. Gonna exit and say boss extrude. And here's where problems can occur. You'll notice that there's no preview, and that's a bad sign typically. But we're going to get around that by going here to selected contours. And I'm just going to tell SolidWorks what contours it should pay attention to. Because you can choose to extrude this empty space here if you want, but we need to tell SolidWorks that we're ignoring it. Okay, and with all these regions selected, I'll go ahead and change the depth to just 1/4. And I'll change the direction to mid-plane. And so, in the actual Minecraft model, it's just graphics that makes up the hair, so it's infinitely thin. I thought it would look a little bit better if it had just a little bit of thickness, though you can make this into a surface if you want, but this is the route that I'm choosing to go. And there's our hair. I'm sure this would be look a little bit better with some color, and we'll deal with that at the very end. Alright, so we're coming up to the end. One of the last things we need to do is make the foot. And to accomplish this, I'll start a sketch right here. So this is the side of the body. And in the Minecraft model, the foot is just graphics, so infinitely thin again. But I'm just going to assign it just a little bit of thickness. Actually, I should probably offset this in here. So I'm going to delete that coincident that I accidentally picked up. And I'll just drag that up a little bit. This should be 2. This should be 1. And let me drag this up here. And let's go ahead and put 0.5 as the overlap. Like that. And we need one more dimension, and that is the offset. And that should be from here to here. 0.75. All right, there we go, fully defined. So if I was gonna say if I'm gonna make thickness, why is this infinitely thin? Well, turns out if you feed a sketch like this to the boss extrude, it will lock in the thin feature and you can assign the thickness right in here. So for the thin feature, I'm gonna say that it is 1/4 of an inch in thickness, and the depth will be 1 inch, and I'll have it go the other way, just like that. Merge result, of course, is still off. It's been off this whole time. So I need to mirror the wing and the foot. So I'll just launch my mirror. My mirror face will be the right plane. Since I built everything centered, I can just pick that. And instead of features to mirror, I'm gonna go to bodies to mirror, because remember, these are all separate bodies. Pick the wing and pick the foot. Oh yeah, and make sure that merge solids is off. If you get the error that says failed to merge the newly generated body with the workpiece, you have merge solids on, just turn that off. Yep, they all have to be separate. And that's all the geometry there. And now I'm just gonna go ahead and apply some colors and just fix it up a little bit. And for this example, I'm just gonna make the gray parrot. The top of the head is gonna be 2 separate colors, and I did it as 1 block. I actually wanna split this into 2 pieces. So I'll do that with the split command, which can be found under direct editing, split. So the trim tools, I'll say his face will be the trim tool. And instead of all bodies, I'll do selected bodies and specify just this one. You can do all bodies if you want, but it'll be very computationally expensive and you'd have to wait a little bit. Say cut bodies, and as you can see, that was very quick. And I'll click both of them, saying that I want to keep both. Hit OK. And now we have this split into 2 pieces. And now you'll notice that it doesn't have any eye yet, or eyes. Parrots have 2 eyes. And I'll do that right now. So I'll sketch right on the side of the head here. And I'll do a square starting from this corner going out here. And yep, grab those 2 legs, say make equal. The dimension will be 1. And I'm just gonna color the one face. So in this case, I'll use split face, which can be found under features, curves, split line. And I'll split the eye on this face, but we need another eye. Just like I found out a couple seconds ago, parrots have 2 eyes, so I'll pick the 2 faces. And now we can color these 2 faces separately. And for the gray parrot, it has like an orange pixel underneath, so I guess I can do that too. So just really quickly, just gonna sketch a square like that. Should be able to snap that there and say make equal, and that should be it. Yep. So features, curves, split line. I want to split this face and this face. There we go. We have all the relevant geometry like that. And I guess to stop this face from interfering, I'm going to use the move face command to just give a little bit of extra meat to this block here. So I want to offset the face. That should work just fine. And it doesn't have to be that much. 25 thousandths should do it. I wonder if we can also do these ones. Well, the thing is, I don't want the foot sticking out. So I guess we'll just do it in 2 separate features. And I'll just go ahead and launch it again. Select these 2, and I'll say flip. The foot is set inward. Oops, no, that is incorrect. Let's go back. Flip. There we go. Now we have the foot set inward. Of course, I could have put that in the original size, but it's pretty cool because we can have this graphically appear correct, but the design intent is still there. All right, and with all this fixed up, let's go ahead and apply some colors. I'll go to the top of the tree here. I'll right click, go to the beach ball and say, put the color for the whole part. And this is where I'll say that the parrot is light gray. And it doesn't look light gray. I'm gonna hit OK anyway, and I'll show you why that is. For some reason, the ambient light in the Solidworks standard template is very dim. Not sure why that is, but we can fix that very easily. So if I go into this beach ball and then go to view scene lights and cameras, go here, go to lights, right click on ambient and say edit light, and change that from 0.3 to, I like 0.7, so I'll do that. So yeah, that looks much better now. Just turn up the light a little bit. All right, and now some things are yellow. So like this face is yellow. So I'll right click this face, appearances to this face, make that bright yellow. And I can actually add some more stuff here, like bodies. So if I switch this here to select bodies, I can put this thing as yellow, that, and that. And I think that's all the yellow things there needs to be. And actually what I'm gonna do, if I hit this push pin, I can keep applying more color. So if I hit OK, now I can change the color and pick more things like that. So those are gonna be black. Oh, I need to switch it to eyes, not eyes, faces. So I can select the eye, faces. There we go. Hit OK. Next is gonna be orange, and that's just gonna be this face down here and this face down here. I like it. And the feet will be kind of this pinkish, so I guess I'll do that. And need to change to bodies. This body and that body. And I'll remove face 6. And there we go. Just hit OK again, and that should dismiss this. Or you might have to undo the push pin. But there's the model all completed. That's where I'll stop for this video right now, but check out part 2 where we actually animate this thing. Until next time, I'll see you then.